So, my wife yelled at me because she thought my previous channel name was too immature. Ironically, she says this one is better and so many more people will watch it. We'll see about that. For now, I have permission to start posting videos again. I'm going to start with my own knife this time. The last two reviews I did were for items that belonged to a friend of mine. I did those reviews, I sent them back to him. Now I'm starting with something that I just got recently. So this is the Hogue Deka Dark Mode from Blade Binge. I think it is exclusive to them. It is a collaboration that they have done with Original Goat to include these scales. Cool knife. I'll go through it. So most people in the knifey world are already familiar with the Deka. It's been a popular model. It's been around for a few years. I have actually never handled one, despite the fact that I am an avid collector. So the friend that I had just mentioned, his favorite carry is a Deka. He has a configuration with a MagnaCut blade and the plastic handles. I don't like plastic handles. So I was actually looking to pick one up, primarily because I wanted to have something that he and I could use as like a standard candle, so that when we share these videos with each other, we have something to say, hey, look, here's our standard size comparison. Here's our standard weight comparison. So I was looking around at these and, I wasn't too compelled by what I saw online. Someone here, I've got something like 70 pocket knives in my collection. A lot of them are more expensive. So I'm looking at these, these standard configurations of the deck, and they look kind of boring to me. I don't see that I would, if I have this in my case and I'm going to pick what I'm going to put in my pocket on a given day, I'm not going to pick one of those because they're all just kind of bland compared to a lot of the higher end stuff that I have. So searching around, I saw that they had, a few months back, they had released a special edition from Hogue with carbon fiber handles and tritium inserts in the thumb studs, and I thought those look really cool. But they're kind of too expensive, I thought, for what they were. But then I just happened to stumble upon this because I've been kind of a fan of the Blade Binge site for a while now. I've sold a number of things on there. And I saw that they had this exclusive collaboration with Original Goat, and the scales look pretty cool. So I was like, okay, that's the one I'm going to get. So off the bat, I'll mention the price. These run, I think, $220 or $230. But when you sign up for the site, they give you a 10% discount code for your first purchase. So this came out to, I think, only $205, which I think is a steal for something that is American made, has MagnaCut, and also has these American made aftermarket parts pre-installed. So this is really what attracted to me, was these cool aluminum scales with the Cerakote finish. They pop. I mean, they look great in person. I'm hoping that the camera does them justice. And I also want to point out, these are XL scales. These are not the standard size. So if you're looking at this and saying it doesn't look quite like my Hogue, I'm going to lay the stock scale on top. They did include this in the box. And you'll see back here that, these XL scales do extend out a little bit longer than the standard scales. It's something like a 1/4 inch or 1/3 of an inch. It's not a lot. But for those who prefer something with a little bit more grip, you're going to get that. And that is something I do. I don't really like really small handles on my folders, which is why I tend to gravitate towards things that have, 3.5 or larger inch blades. And it really just comes down to the fact I don't like having a cramped handle. I like a full grip. So these provide that. That being said, try to go over the rest of the knife. So again, a lot of you knifey people out there are familiar with the Deka already. It's like a 3.2 inch blade. It's a fairly thin stock, which is what helps to keep the weight down. I got the I guess this is a clip point, what they call it. A more kind of classic shape. I didn't like the other blade shape that much. Scales I mentioned, they're really cool looking. They feel good in the hand. Deep carry pocket clip. Not disappointed with the purchase at all. Ergos are fine. They don't do anything to really stand out, but they're serviceable. Blade is Magna Cut with a Cerakote. Now, I've never had a Cerakoted blade before, so I don't know how the coating holds up. But I have to say, it's certainly less prone to like fingerprints and other just like smudges that you often get with DLCs or other coatings. So I'm very pleased with that. It's one of the reasons I tend not to go for black coatings on blades, especially matte ones, because they tend to be kind of hard to keep clean looking. The scales are fairly reflective, which you can probably pick up on the camera, but again, they look great. And the pocket clip, the finish matches the blade. And, there's nothing really special here. It's a deep carry. You do have the hardware raised up above the handle, but I haven't noticed any issues with that in carrying it myself. It goes in and out of the pocket just fine, perfectly capable and functional clip. And I think, suitable for the price point. I wouldn't necessarily expect some kind of fancy machine clip on something like this. What are my thoughts on this? Well, again, this is a little smaller than what I'm used to carrying. So my first thoughts carrying this is, first off, it's incredibly light compared to what I'm used to. I usually carry things that are like in the, let's say, 5 to 6 ounce range. And I think this thing comes in at closer to like 3 ounces. I think in stock dress, I guess you could say, this is like a 2.5 ounce knife. I haven't looked it up, but I'm just making that assumption. With the aluminum scale, this is probably still well under 4 ounces, and so when I pick it up, it almost feels like a toy compared to a lot of the other stuff that I carry. And that's not a complaint. I think that for people who like something that is lightweight, the Deka is going to work just fine for them. And another thing too, and some people like and some people hate this, the blade stock is thin. And I have to say, I really appreciate that. There's a general obsession in the industry with, thick blade stock. And while, yes, it does help to increase the rigidity or toughness of the blade, it doesn't give you much in terms of actual functionality. So this thin blade stock, thanks to that and like the really, really impressively sharp edge, out of the box, this thing, it just cuts like a dream. Like I was going through bags of mulch with this last weekend, and it was just flying through them, like no resistance whatsoever. That's something I really appreciate in a blade that actually gets used and carried. The fact that it actually cuts well. So kudos to Hogue for making something that actually has like a realistically thick blade stock, for actual use. I also want to commend them on the excellent sharpness of the factory edge. I am someone who sharpens as a hobby. Most of the time, as soon as I get a new knife out of the box, I will sharpen it because it is not sharp enough for me. Most companies put pretty crappy factory edges on their knives, and ironically it seems to be more common among more expensive knives. I've gotten stuff from Riyat, Koenig, Shirogorov that just had what I would consider pretty dull edges, just barely sharp enough to cut through paper, if at all. Yet this $200 knife, a fraction of the cost of those, had an edge that really, really impressed me out of the box. I've heard that Hogue puts good edges on their knives. Yes, they do. If this is evidence of what they normally do, I can confirm that. Very few other manufacturers out there really, impress me with the edges that come from the factory. Moving on, and I went off on a little tangent there. So, yeah, blade shape works really well for actual use. It's a clip point, kind of a standard classic shape. It works. You have a flat section, you have some belly. Tip is kind of center line with the handle. Can't complain there. Again, handle ergonomics are fine. There's nothing really special or stand out here. It's kind of a neutral grip. The factory scales do have a little bit more of a, I guess, cutout for the index finger, which is actually something I prefer generally. But for this, I don't really miss it. It's fine. I have no complaints with the ergonomics on this knife. You know, could they be better? Yes. Would a contoured scale provide a little bit more comfort? Yes. I don't expect that at this price point, especially with these materials. What else there's to say? Is that like? There's a lot of things that you notice when you're looking at it under the lighting under the camera that you don't notice it otherwise. So yeah, I didn't notice kind of some of the way that the light is catching that hardware there. So curious to see how this holds up, how the Cerakoting holds up versus DLC or other PVD finishes. You know, again, I think it's considered to be more premium than a standard PVD. But like I said, no real experience with that. I've had other things that had Cerakoting on the handles. Didn't have any issues there, but the handles are not going to see the same kind of, I guess, abrasion that the blades normally will. Standoffs on the back, no back spacer. Again, that helps to keep the weight down. So those are my thoughts on this. I mean, overall, I say this is a recommendable knife, especially at this price point, and especially if you're looking for something that's a little bit different at this price point. You know, if you're looking for something American made that's also kind of lightweight, but also isn't just kind of drab, something has a little bit more appeal for a collector, I would actually go and look at this dark mode version of the Deka from Blade Bench. I recommend. Oh, and you know what, before I forget, I wanted to bring this out as a size comparison. Everyone is familiar with this guy, everyone who's at least into the hobby. Again, most people are familiar with this by now anyway as well, but it's the best size comparison I can give. You see that the Hogue actually has the same amount of cutting edge, but overall significantly smaller, a lot smaller in the handle, a lot smaller overall. I mean, it's not going to, I think, compete with the PM2 in terms of ergonomics, but you know, it is going to carry better. All right, sorry for that little tangent right at the end. All right, so that's my first review of my own knife. You know, I'm still new to this, so any comments you can give down below to help me improve the videos when it comes to the photography, the lighting, the commentary, the name of the channel. No, don't touch the name of the channel. Please leave comments down below. I want to see. I want to have fun with this. I want to improve with it. I'm not necessarily looking to become like a major influencer, but I do want the videos to be enjoyable for people who are following the hobby. So, until next time.